another episode of the UPPLC interview series. I am Janice Johnson Pemida, and our topic for today is on the effect of social media shortening words or coinages on official speaking and writing skills. I have here with me today an experienced educator who has taught English in classrooms for several decades in the person of Mr. Akano. He is also a seasoned and experienced examiner at the SSC level and one of the authors of NOSEC, English language textbook for junior and senior secondary schools. We are certain he will be doing justice to our topic for today. Good to have you here, sir.
You're welcome.
As mentioned earlier, our topic for today is on the effect of social media shortening words or coinages on official speaking and writing skills. There is no doubt that social media has changed the way and manner in which we communicate. Over the years, in the process of communicating on various social media platforms, a different brand of English language has developed as people keep finding different ways to say more with less. Now, this communication trend, which is characterized by acronyms and abbreviations, emoticons, vocabulary alterations, and many more, is what we term social media shortening words or coinages. It is indeed a trend which has become very common and is gradually slipping into popular usage even without us realizing it. Some examples of those acronyms and abbreviations that are being used on social media now. One example is TBT, throwback, which actually means throwback Thursday or throwback Tuesday. Okay, they'll just say TBT instead of writing it in full. Another example is text. Instead of text, T-E-X-T, you see people write T-X-T as text. Then great, G-R-E-A-T, great. People now spell it as G-R-8, G-R with that number 8. We'll be discussing how these communication trends affect official speaking and writing skills. So before we go into the main topic of today, sir, can you tell us briefly about yourself?
Thank you very much. I am Akano. I happen to have been a principal of a school. I retired about 24 years ago. And ever since then, of course, I've been very busy organizing workshops for teachers, for students on English language. And I've also been involved in writing books. I've written many books on English language. I've co-authored some, including the New York Sports Secondary English course. I've also written many other books on English language, on all the aspects of English language, including tests of orals, and so on and so forth. I've been also involved in teaching, examining English language at the SSC level for the past 50 years. I'm still engaged in organizing workshops for students at SS3 level, for teachers, so as to enhance their performance.
Okay. So, sir, as an experienced educator, you've been teaching English language. You taught English language for a very long time. I'm sure you no longer teach in class, or do you still teach?
I still teach.
Okay. So, as an experienced educator in English language, and also you write textbooks, you're also an examiner. So, what would you say are the ethics of speaking and writing good English?
Basically, to be able to write good English, you have to be able to understand the grammar of the language. And you have to also read very wide to enhance your speaking, to enhance your writing too. In the days of old, when we were in school, we would read at least one novel in 2 weeks at the very least. And that will enhance our speaking, broaden our horizon, and so on and so forth. Unlike nowadays, when we are used to the social media, we listen to iPad, iPhone, Instagram, Twitter. Isn't it Twitter?
Okay, so in recent years, the majority, like I earlier mentioned, majority of young people now adopt a certain brand of English when they are trying to write on social media and all that. Now, this brand of English does not even conform with the matrix of standard English. And in fact, if you even look at it, it doesn't still conform with the matrix of the Nigerian standard Pidgin English. So you'll be wondering what kind of English is this one. So how does this habit affect official speaking and writing skills?
Yeah, it does, because nowadays people are so lazy that they rely on social media language, not the formal one, and they resort to writing horrible things, and therefore it affects them in their, not only in their speaking but also in their writing, because they are exposed to so many horrible, well, I call them horrible things because they're not actually helping them in their performance in English language as far as the examinations are concerned. And therefore, we have students not doing very well at the SSC level, or you hear horrible things being either written, being spoken or written anywhere.
So what do you think are the factors contributing to this trend? Could it be that people are just being lazy, or is it just a smart and fun way of trying to communicate, or what?
I feel that they are being lazy in the sense that they don't want to involve themselves in actually reading and writing things. For example, you want to write before, you write before. If you want to write for, you write only for, because you, and so on and so forth. All those are actually affecting them. And many of them actually don't know the spellings of these words. If once they know, they have the because, they just write. In fact, you want to have because, they just COS for because. And so many other things which one comes across in in essay writing. For example, in essay writing, whenever these candidates resort to language of text message or all these things that these are marked down for them because of the fact that the exam actually is targeting the formal English, not the justice of standard or the pidgin one, which they speak all about.
Now, one major excuse that is usually given is that, for instance, for platforms like Twitter, which imposes text or character limits, one has no choice than to condense your thoughts in few words. So that's one of the arguments they give for writing such. What do you think about that, sir?
It's still part of this laziness, because when you condense things that should not be condensed, then the import of the meaning itself will not be clear enough, and you will not express yourself in a clear form. Therefore, all those Twitter, Instagram, every language that is used in will not actually enhance their performance.
Some people still argue that rather than having a negative effect on speaking and writing skills, they say this trend is rather making language more interesting and richer. What do you think about that?
It may be true that it's interesting, but as far as speaking and writing formal English is concerned, it won't help them, because for example, when they are sitting for any exam, we don't expect them to write all these shortened forms or coinages, and so it will affect them. So if they are so used to all these coinages, all these shortened form text messages, these are marked down for them in their various exams, either the WAEC conducted SSE or the NECO conducted SSE. They are marked down, and therefore the performance will be very poor.
Okay. So during your days when you were schooling and or when you were still very young, were there such things as all these social media slangs and all that?
No, you know that I'm not old yet. But during our days, I'm talking about 50 years, 55 years, 60 years ago, we were more focused on reading. And those days we would read novels, read magazines, journals, newspapers that will actually enhance our expression. And that actually has helped us. Unlike nowadays, when it is now Twitter, it is now WhatsApp, it is now Instagram, it is now all these ones. They no longer read novels. And you will agree with me that if you read, the wider you read, the more enhanced your expression may be, and even horizon too will be. But nowadays, and that's why the performance is declining as far as English language is concerned, because they are now narrowed down to fiddling with gadgets and so on and so forth.
So how will you rate the standard of spoken English or spoken and written English then compared to now?
Of course, clearly it is better then than now because, as I said before, students then we were more focused on what we're doing and we took instruction from our teachers and were well taught. And we were well taught, that was reflected in our performance.
Okay. Also, don't you think that this communication trend could be causing generational gaps? For instance, older people might not be able to understand when you are communicating with younger people. How do you understand what they are trying to say?
Yes, it does. Except the older generation actually come down to the level of the younger generation. They will not be able to understand, except with those of us who are in the business, we actually have to come down to understand that we are aware of what is going on and we can actually correct them or advise them on what to do. That's what.
Okay. One thing is for students to perform very well in English language, both in the speaking and writing. They will need very good standard books also that will guide them through. So, with your experience and all that, what are some of the books, textbooks you can recommend for at least those in junior and senior secondary schools?
Yes, because of my connection and experience, I told you I've been involved in examining, teaching at the SSA level, even just level 2, for the past 50 years. And so you cannot rule out the fact that I've been much involved in or know what actually is happening at that level. And therefore, some of the books I've been involved in writing are quite very good, and they are recommended in so many states and schools. One of them which I co-authored is the New Oxford Secondary English course for junior and for the senior. And if you look at that, if you examine those books, you see that there's a touch of somebody who knows who and what actually the examining bodies require or demand for English language. And therefore, if anybody uses those books, they'll come out fine.
Okay, so sir, do you have samples? Can you show us samples of this?
Yes. For example, the very first one here, you have the one for the JS1. The JS1, you have the passages there are quite very simple. They are down to earth. They are down to earth, and they are not just passages taken from the blues. If you look at the first one, for example, the first unit here, the passages in this, as I said before, are very down to earth. The title of this comprehension passage is the Zine for secondary school. Talks about the experience of somebody who actually longs to go to the secondary school and what he has undergone, and eventually he got there, and so they would just the immediate experience of pupils are reflected in the passages, not just. And the second, we don't have time. I will have shown you many more aspects of the book. If you look at the second comprehension passage here too, you have that's what in the curriculum. You have diet and nutrition, which is explained in the comprehension passage. And the third one, you have the day school began for a primary 6 people going to the secondary school. He's now relating his experience of the first day when he's not familiar with the students, he's not familiar with the teachers yet. He's alone, even in a group of people where he's interacting. And eventually he got used to the school. The day school began. That's how the passages are done. And of course, you have very, very many aspects of the book which are commendable. There are many exercises there. There are so many other things, including of vocabulary. There are grammatical exercises explained in a very simple form. Even the spoken English is also done in a very down-to-earth way that any child could be able to understand easily. And then, as I said before, we don't have any time for this program. I have the book 3, the GS 3. One of the features of this book, which makes it commendable to people, is that it has standard GSE, 5 of them, exam questions. Not the past questions, but the questions that have been actually framed up by the authors. Apart from the exercises that you have, there are so many exercises there. It's only when you see it that you can actually know what I'm talking about. And in addition to that, because we don't have time, you look at the new edition of this book 3 of the SS, which is used. In fact, many teachers, even when they don't use it as their textbook, a few school teachers will still use it in their own private time, because of the fact that they find it very, very, is loaded, well loaded. Apart from the fact it has about 12 standard work exam or SSC questions. In paper 1, you have the paper 1 is objective, 80 items. Then paper 2, you have the essay writing, you have comprehension, you have summary, you have paper 3, test of words. That is a set. In other words, in this book alone, we have about 1,000 objective exercises. No, sorry, not 1,000, because the old one had 10 exercises, 10 standard exam questions. This one has 12. In other words, we have 100 objective questions in 12 places. Not past questions. Then you have also essay, comprehension, summary questions in 12 places. We also have test of oral questions, 60 items in 12 places. Not past questions, but one that have been actually framed up by the authors of the book. So it's only when the English people will say the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Only when you see the books that you actually know that they are very highly commendable, and they should be used by. And anybody who uses it, it's not a question of saying of making mouth. From experience over the years, anybody that uses it goes through this one, there's no doubt that you will obtain distinction. I'm quite confident because of the fact that they have used it over the years, and they have also been involved in workshops here and there where they actually commend the books, and the students also love the books. But teachers have, and apart from that, we have the teacher's guide, which actually will help the teacher, and for GS1, for GS2, for GS3, for SS1, for SS2, for SS3. We also have the workbook. Each of them has, and these are the advantages of these books, which have been written by highly seasoned authors. And not only that, I told you that because I've been connected with the exam for the past 50 years, I'm one of the co-authors, and therefore I am aware of what is happening at this SSC level, and therefore that experience has guided our writing of these books.
Right. So, sir, what advice would you give these young people who keep engaging in those kind of communication trends, and it's now affecting their official speaking and writing skills? What advice would you give them? Would you say they should minimize the way they use those types of, slangs, or would you say they should just stop it outrightly?
Yeah, they may not stop it outright. They have to minimize or know what is happening, because no matter how hard you are on them to say they should stop it, they will still, because they are living in a society where all these things prevail, they will still be exposed to. But they should minimize the use of all these coinages and foreign language and so on and so forth, and concentrate on actually very good textbooks, which can actually help them in their final exams.
Okay. All right, sir. So, as a seasoned examiner of English language at the SSC level for over 5 decades, what has been those factors responsible for failure in English language?
There are many factors. First, the students are not prepared to read, because no matter how good a teacher can be, no matter how good anybody can be, nobody can help a student to read. No matter how much a mother loves the child, no matter how much a father loves the child, or a teacher, or anybody, it is the child that has to sit down and read. You can't help them to read. And apart from that too, they have to be exposed to good textbooks. Textbooks that actually can help them. Like the one I was talking about before, these are down to everyone that are simple, and you have guides for them. What can the student do, even if the channel is not around? We have them in this series of books that I've just shown you. What can the student do, even without the teacher being? How can they study the grammar section, the comprehension section, the spoken section, everything there have been guided in the books. So they should be exposed to good books, and they should actually be serious enough to also read, and also to read well, because the reading culture has been lost. Now it is the Naira culture. Everybody is looking on to Naira. It's the Naira culture. The reading culture has been abandoned. They also actually have to resuscitate the reading culture. When we were in school, we were reading. We were reading novels, reading journals, reading newspapers, reading magazines, and so on and so forth. And this has actually helped us. Most of us who made a headway actually were serious with our studies, and we read wide.
Do we still have competent teachers to teach English language in schools?
Yes and no. But the thing is that we have just a few of them who are competent, and some of them are just lazy. Some of them are just marking the time, because now the truth is, many teachers now are there, not because they want to be there, but because of the fact of the circumstance, the economic situation in the country. Let me say probably 95% of those who are there are actually not teachers. They are there because there is no other job. Unlike now, in those days, we had devoted teachers, committed teachers who actually would want you to do very well, no matter the obstacles on your way, no matter the impediments. They want you to do very well. And immediately, you see, the teachers were committed. They knew what they wanted. And of course, that's why many of us did very well, because they were interested in our affairs. Nowadays, sometimes the teacher will say, school for school, home for home. Whereas teaching job is actually a 24-hour job. You know, you are thinking constantly of what you will do to improve your performance, to enhance your teaching methods, and so on and so forth. But nowadays, many teachers, that is the experience I've had, and teachers, they don't even develop themselves, because you can only give what you know. If they don't know, they cannot give. Many of them are so lazy, they just depend on books and on textbooks alone. They read only one. Whereas in my teaching career, I read many books. I buy books. They don't buy books. They don't buy books. They don't just judge whatever they have. It is true that the economic situation is not very encouraging. At the same time, when you buy books, you are enhancing your value. You are making yourself relevant. I told you I was out of university for the since about 81 years ago. But I've not been reading. I've not been relevant. I've not been able to know what is happening here and happening there. But they are not reading. They're there. They're just marking the time, making sure that at least at the end of the month, they get their salaries. But if they are actually reading, they are enhancing their value, they are making themselves relevant. And they are even, from even the economic point of view, they are making themselves more marketable. Nowadays, people request my services here and there, because they know that at least I'll be able to deliver. But most of us nowadays are not just reading. Are not reading.
So what do you think the government can do? What role can the government play to minimize mass failure in English language, and to also keep the teachers motivated to be able to teach the students well?
There is much the government can do. First, they have to ensure that they organize training programs for teachers of English. And these training programs are not just programs that will bring in professors or those who are actually not in the system, on the SSE system. Those who are not marking the thing. You just bring somebody from the university to say, come and organize a workshop for them. I mean, those who are actually knowledgeable about what are the requirements at the SSE level by the examining bodies, about by WAEC or by NECO. If you organize training for them, making sure that they are seasoned examiners that are actually organizing the training for the teachers, and they will be able to do well. Apart from that too, teachers should be encouraged. When in the sense that probably there's something that be an inducement for them for at first, because language is not easy to teach. That is the truth. But if there's an inducement for them, probably they'll be able to put in their effort and ensure that the students do well. And then I think also the students will be enlightened about the importance of actually reading hard, reading wide, and making sure that they focus on their studies. And apart, in addition, of course, well, I don't know, teachers should be in schools too. The pupil ratio, teacher ratio should be adjusted in such a way that, because in some schools, you know that you have about 70 students in a class, 60 in a class, 50 in a class. I don't know, in English language, how can a teacher mark essays for these ones? Because if you want to actually have effectiveness, you need to write essays, you need to actually mark the essays well, not just mark it haphazardly. But if they are 50, if they are 60 in a class, how does the teacher actually go about marking the essays? If they give essays, they may not be able to mark. And if you don't mark it, then the ignorance will still be with the students. That is the problem that we have. So it's important for the government to be aware of all these things. Not just organizing, not just inspecting schools, but also organizing training. Training, probably in the state, can be by local government arrangement. Probably they take seasoned experts, seasoned examiners to make teachers aware of what are the demands. And of course, I know that in many schools, even in the urban areas, teachers who teach, some of them are not English language experts. Probably some of them are linguistics. Some of them read this one and this one, and they are forced to teach English.
So that is it for this episode of the UPPLC interview series. As our speaker has just said, young people should try to minimize the way they use social media shortened words or coinage. Yes, it might not be easy for you to say you don't engage in it at all or stop it outrightly, but at least try as much as possible to reduce the way you use those things so that you don't get used to them and then you forget and go and be writing them in an official exam or in an official setting. Also, read a lot of books. Invest in reading, invest in books. Okay, and also when you want to read, make sure that you get standard books. Then for those in secondary schools, we have Asuka has recommended very good and standard textbooks for those in junior secondary schools and senior secondary schools. His recommendation is the LOSEC English textbook for GS1, GS2, GS3, also SS1, SS2, and SS3. And each of them come with the workbooks and then the teacher's guide. So these books will help you to develop your knowledge in English language. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
You're welcome.
For the audience, thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to our channel for more educative discussions on various topics. Thank you.